this is to end in fire, then we shall all burn together. Watch the flames climb high into the night, calling out fire.
Hello my lovers, it's Thunder from Substance Over Style and welcome to a new video. So today I've got another suggested video from Ken's, who was responding to one of my Insta stories. Let me just pour my tea first. Got a lovely cup of herbal tea. I've been drinking this before bed every night because I don't know about you, but I always have problems sleeping. I'm such a night owl. So I've been drinking chamomile and mugwort tea every evening. Really helps me sleep, and the mugwort is really helping with my dream work. Because I recently started to keep a dream journal in which every morning I wake up and I write my dreams down, no matter how disturbing they are, and sometimes they are really disturbing, otherwise I would have done it years ago. And then sometimes I interpret them. Sometimes I don't need to interpret them because the symbols are so obvious. But yeah, that's a real top tip if you're trying to explore the astral realms and learn more about your consciousness. Okay, so let's get into the video. So she responded to one of my Insta stories where I posted a bit of a download face from another follower, the Obsidian Blade, of me looking kind of less than flattering. And then she goes, curious to hear how you balance your spiritual side with needing to be very focused on looks/appearance for your job. Sometimes I feel like dressing up, etc., but if I spend too much time on clothes and makeup, I tend to feel sad, guilty, and disconnected. Any thoughts on this? Granted, it's different for me because my appearance is unrelated to my work, but I hate feeling like I spent all this time in front of the mirror when I could have been outside with nature, reading, spending time with loved ones, etc. But it's also nice to feel put together. So much to say on this. Like, I literally have so many things to say on this. I mean, at the beginning of my journey, when I first, started to awaken, I was still modeling. And when I first started this channel, if you go and look back at some of my earlier videos, you'll see that I was very rarely wearing makeup, and one of my followers even messaged me and said, Sana, how come you look like so disheveled in your videos? And it's because I was kind of going through this spiritual journey, and even though I was really successful in my career, and I wasn't even really I wasn't really chasing it, it was just coming to me because I'd put in so much hard work leading up to it. I was kind of uncomfortable with the success, especially like living in Asia where I was surrounded by like so much poverty. I just felt like I had all these unfair advantages and these, I felt privileged, and I was just really I didn't feel like it was spiritual at all to care too much about my appearance, even though I did want to be on YouTube and I did want to share my message. I definitely wanted to promote veganism, but I wanted to even go deeper than that with some of the other stuff that, I was learning, because I'd already started to awaken before I even went vegan. So one of my followers was like, Sana, why do you look so disheveled? Like, obviously we know you can look a lot better than that. And I was just like, because I want to be authentic, and I don't want to play into people's insecurities. I was, having some issues with the advertising industry, really playing into people's insecurities. And I could see that a lot of the problems that we were facing on the planet, like overconsumption and things like that, came down to a lack of people's self-love. So if we make people feel really bad about themselves and like they're not enough, hey, if you buy this lip gloss, then you'll feel better and you'll look like this girl, or buy these butt injections, or buy this outfit, and blah blah blah, and it's literally destroying the planet. So I didn't want to add to that. So I can see why people would feel like caring about how you look is not spiritual. But I've since kind of gone through a whole process of transformation around that, and I've come full circle with it. So firstly, I just want to read you an excerpt. This is from Penny Park's Rescuing the Inner Child that I was reading last year when I was in Bali. I was doing a lot of inner child work, and there was a part where she was talking about physical beauty that I thought was really interesting, and maybe you'll find it helpful as well. So I'll start with, it's kind of on page, if you want to download the book, it's on Kindle Reader, 1475, on page 1475, and it's in the section acceptance. So it's all about accepting yourself as you are. All of us have known people who were physically beautiful but became ugly when they began to speak and reveal their personality. By the same token, there are people who are not physically attractive but become handsome or beautiful when their personality is revealed. Most of the people in the second category also have a tremendous smile and a ready laugh. It feels good to be in their presence. The same principle applies to everyone. Use physical potential to its limits, but let personality be the real beauty. Developing one's personality to its limits ensures a beauty far outreaching the physical potential. So it is time to attack self-image from outside and inside, because as above, so below. Clients are asked to assess their body objectively but kindly, not to get hung up on what they do not like and spend all their time moaning about it. Moaning will not change anything about anyone's body, but it will ensure that no one wants to hang around and listen to it. It takes willpower, but clients are asked to stop themselves every time they start moaning, in mid-sentence if necessary. Clients have even admitted to becoming bored when talking excessively about their ugly bits. I suggest they try talking about the life and interest of others when the urge to moan comes on. It's important to bathe regularly and to keep hair clean. It's surprising how many people do not. And suitably styled. She's obviously talking about her clients who are people who've kind of experienced primarily some kind of childhood trauma. I ask clients to try out some different styles of clothing and get out of any boring, unsuitable fashion ruts they may have fallen into. It's time to take an interest in clothes, hair, and image. It's not vain to do so. It's what anyone who respected herself would do. After all, if people do not respect themselves enough to care about their appearance, it is not likely that other people will respect them. Inner beauty is what matters, but people have to be approachable before anyone can see if they have any. Not many of us rush to find the inner beauty of down and outs. It's important to understand that many people who suffered abuse as a child now use a scruffy, plain, threatening, thin or fat appearance as a form of protection. They feel it helps keep people away and saves the effort of trying to cope with closeness. However, once a victim starts using the exercises in this book and begins to feel some relief from guilt and shame, it is time to develop a new identity and let go of the old one. Besides, once it is looked at closely, it becomes quite apparent that the old protection image never really worked. The person's life still had plenty of hurt and despair. In fact, the scruffy, plain, threatening, thin or fat appearance often invited trouble instead of warding it off. So she's talking about how if you're on a journey of trying to cultivate more self-love, as a lot of people who are on the spiritual path tend to be because of, traumas or challenges in their life, whether in relationships or family stuff or business stuff, whatever, it's important to present yourself as somebody who takes care of yourself, respects yourself, because you're showing people how you expect to be treated. So if you've taken the time to make yourself look presentable, then other people will know that you expect a certain level of treatment, because how you show others how you expect to be treated by the way that you treat yourself. So it is really important, I think, to take care of yourself. For me, like for a while I was kind of on this, hippie path, and because I think for a long time, a lot of my self-care and like caring about how I looked and, wanting to always wear like the latest fashion and always having a perfect manicure and never leaving the house without makeup on, a lot of it was a way of masking my insecurities. And I think that's why a lot of people turn away from it, because they're just like, in order to cultivate self-love, they want to be loved as they are, like as they wake up, and that's fine. But at the same time, if you are feeling like you actually enjoy the ritual of making yourself look as good as you possibly can, then you shouldn't feel there's no reason why you should feel ashamed of that. Like for me, I now see, like, and it's actually been a very recent thing for me since coming back to London, because while I was in Bali, I was very like low maintenance. I wasn't wearing makeup at all. I mean, it's a tropical climate, so it's not really conducive to it, but also you know, the food that you're eating and this, you know, the sunshine on your skin is like just so good for you that you kind of radiate beauty from the inside out. But since coming back to London, where you know the climate is just a bit harsher, it dries your skin out. Like my skin loses its melanin, so I look really pasty. And then also you're just in an urban environment, so I kind of felt like I had to kind of do a little bit more. I've actually been really enjoying it. I've turned it into a self-love ritual, like getting up in the morning and putting my face on before I go out. Like after I come out of the shower, like I'll anoint myself with body oils. It actually makes me feel really, really good about myself. And obviously for my job, I really do have to feel like I look my best, especially like in a market like London. It's important for me to know that I've done everything that I can to try and book those jobs. But in terms of like the whole idea that there's something unspiritual about beauty, I actually disagree. I think that beauty is a manifestation of the divine. I mean, if we can look at a beautiful flower or a beautiful landscape or a beautiful bird of paradise, why is it somehow unspiritual for me to look at a beautiful face that, you know, of a human being? You know, I refuse to be made to feel bad about that. Like, I see so much beauty in people's faces around me, and as somebody who works in the fashion industry, not just as a model, but I've also worked as a stylist, and now I'm working as a model scout and designer. And for many years I kind of held back with that because I was just like, it's such a superficial industry. But I've come full circle with it. You know, creativity and beauty they're God's creations. So I don't think that we should be made to feel bad about that. I mean, you know, for ages I was just like, oh, I hate how, like, when I'm scrolling through Instagram, if I see like a really beautiful model, even though I'm not attracted to women, when I see like a beautiful model who's got like an amazing body and she's posting loads of thirst trap pictures, you know, I become just as captivated by her beauty as, you know, everybody else. I mean, we think that it's really basic and it's like feeding into our lower urges, and that may be true, but it's a very primal thing. It's basically, it's goddess worship, basically. Like, women are manifestations of the goddess and men are manifestations of the male creator god. So, you know, throughout history, we've always deified the human form as a manifestation of the divine, and I don't think that we should feel bad about that. Like, yeah, okay, it makes certain people feel bad if they don't have this and they don't have that, and, you know, it creates a competitiveness. But at the same time, we're the architects of our own destiny, and how we choose to feel about certain things is our choice. So, and, you know, I fall victim to it as well. Every single model I know does. Like, even though we're people who are professionally good looking, models are some of the most insecure people on the planet. They're some of like the men and the women. We're constantly comparing ourselves to each other. None of us are perfect. We all, you know, either you have a problem with your skin, or you're not tall enough, or you have a big bum and agencies keep on telling you to lose weight. Like, you'll look at these girls on Instagram and you'll be like, oh my God, they're like, how is she even real? But you're looking at like the qualities that she does have, but you're not looking at like the fact that maybe she has really ugly feet. Do you know what I mean? Like, I constantly, you know, sometimes play the comparison game on Instagram, but then I have to remember the beautiful characteristics that I do have. So yeah, that's kind of all I want to say on that. But also, when it comes to beauty, I think that beauty is also a manifestation of health. It's still, you know, we live in a mathematical universe, and, you know, everything has a code built into it, which is why when people start to awaken, they start to see number synchronicities like the 1111 and 2222 and stuff like that. That's to tell you that we live in a mathematical holographic universe. And beauty is no exception to this. Like, you know, when you look at an image, you know, whatever it is, but let's talk about, you know, the human form, for example, it has a certain balance and harmony that is mathematical in nature. It conforms to the golden ratio. That's not to say that, like, you know, some people are more beautiful than others, because there is a certain amount of subjectiveness that comes with that. Because I talked about in one of my other videos how beauty is socially constructed. So what our society perceives as being beautiful in today's society is different from how it used to be, and a lot of that has to do with some of our very warped value systems. So the fashion industry now is just perpetuating this paedophile culture, and I'm not going to go too deep into, you know, why I think that is, but I can talk about that in another video. But, you know, other civilizations had different value, you know, had different value systems around what they considered beautiful. I mean, in ancient cultures, like, you know, they worshipped a very, very voluptuous female form that was melanated, because, you know, our ancient ancestors were all melanated. So, you know, for people who think that they're not beautiful, maybe it's just not your era. Like, maybe in another era you would have been deified and, you know, held up as the, you know, the epitome of female or, you know, male beauty. So I think it's important for people to kind of look for archetypes almost if they're struggling with their own body image. This is also what Anton LaVey talks about in The Satanic Witch, when he talks about how you can use clothing and makeup and even fragrance to basically hack the science of attraction. So basically, if you're trying to target a certain person, so if you're a woman, you're trying to target a certain man who falls on a different position on the personality synthesizer clock. So he goes into detail about the different personality types. One is a very feminine energy man, one is a very masculine energy man, and how you can wear certain colors to kind of be more attractive to that person. And also you can change your body type, because, like, say for example, a 12 o'clock very alpha type masculine man will be attracted to a very soft, voluptuous feminine body. So things like that. So, you know, what we consider beautiful and what we consider attractive are not just socially constructed, but it also really comes down to what your personality type is, because everybody is attracted to something different. So I think people need to kind of, that's why I think that the industry, the modeling and the advertising industry, I don't see it as a negative. Like, I see everything as neutral. So, you know, everything from the modeling industry, the fashion industry, social media, money, anything that you can think of, occult knowledge, it's all neutral until you use it for good or evil. So, where was I going? Yeah, so with the modeling industry, we can actually use it for good, you know, and lots of people are starting to do that now. It's so much more diverse than it used to be because of social media, because social media basically leveled the playing field, and now you're seeing so many more diverse representations of beauty. It's not so white supremacist as it used to be. It's not all about like this skinny, like anorexic, you know, prepubescent physique. Now we're actually starting to see women with curves, which is really nice to see. All kinds of things. So we can use it for positive change. And it's the same with beauty. Like, I consider beauty to be a gift, and it's something that I leverage to try and make a positive impact in this world, because I realized very quickly, like, when I started to do really well in my career, I started to just get a lot of social media attention. Like, I mean, I wasn't, like, Instagram wasn't really something that like fashion international models were using that much. It was more something that only like swimwear models in like markets like LA, Miami, Sydney were using. In sort of Europe and, you know, Asia, like the fashion markets, Instagram wasn't really a thing. So I started to get a lot of friend requests on Facebook. I was getting like hundreds of friend requests a day, and I was just like, oh my god, suddenly all these people want to know me. Why? Just because I got this fucking Vogue magazine cover? And I was just like, okay, well, if all these people are going to suddenly like want to be friends with me on Facebook, they're going to listen to what I have to say. So I started really speaking my truth, and that's when I started really talking a lot about veganism and how people need to go vegan and how it's fucked up to eat animals. And I did ruffle a lot of feathers, but I also started talking about about, you know, the stuff happening in the Middle East. So I try and use what I've been given to make a positive impact. And, you know, thanks to, you know, the divine creator, it's worked quite well for me. And I've continued to have a successful career despite it, because, you know, for a while I was worried that if I started to kind of speak too much and, you know, say things that were controversial, especially about the industry, people wouldn't want to book me. But if anything, I've actually found the opposite to be true. Like, people actually seem to like it, clients seem to like it, and now we're starting to see a lot more models really speak up about certain things. Like, I haven't really seen that many models going really, really deep, but, you know, it's good to see that there's models who are kind of championing body positivity. They're speaking out against racism and, you know, all those kinds of things. What else did I want to say? Quickly, let me just read this and see if there was anything else. I mean, I don't know. It's nice to feel put together. Yeah, it is nice. Like, I mean, I feel like I've said everything that I want to say, but like, if you're feeling guilty, I don't know, I just think that you shouldn't feel guilty. Turn it into a self-love ritual, you know, like it's actually quite a powerful form of a glamour magic. Like, if you're not familiar with glamour magic, look up glamour magic. It's basically like a way that you know, people will use witchcraft to kind of seduce people. And, you know, I know people get very kind of triggered about things like that, because they think that, you know, people have got sort of dubious intentions, but as long as you're using it for the good of all, then you're good, you know. Like, it all depends on what your definition of spirituality is. Like, if you're using the knowledge, you know, just to help yourself, and, you know, you're going to cause harm to others, then obviously that's not great. But there's always consequences to that anyway. Like, it will have consequences. If you're using it to actually just improve your own life and the life of your loved ones, and then the wider world, there's no issue with it. Like, just, you know, use what your mama gave you. And yeah, I think that's all I'm gonna say on that. I think I've said everything that I wanted to say, and I'm quite impressed because I did it in less than 23 minutes. So yeah, I'm gonna love you and leave you. Peace out, peeps. One love.
You're introduced to LSD, and unless you've taken some other drug, like for instance, like marijuana or something, well, you know, it's an altogether new thing, and you actually can have a religious experience